Hands of Peril, read by the author, Angelo Ford. Chapter 9, SUPT Stand-Ups. Upon arrival to the United States Air Force's Specialized Undergraduate Pilot Training Program, or SUPT, I was greeted by a captain screaming at a fellow second lieutenant about how unbecoming of an officer it was to be living in his personal storage shed simply to avoid the cost of paying for a hotel room. This officer quickly received the call sign Shed and became my year-long roommate at pilot training. Shed was quite a character and generally lived up to the archetype of a class clown. One of the most infamous moments was our very first stand-up. Stand-ups were conducted every single morning of pilot training. Our class of pilots would stand at attention in front of our desks and the pilot trainers would enter the room together in a line formation. They would then stand at the head of our class. The scheduler would then pick one student's name off of a flight board, and that person would have to stand in the center of the class with only a flight checklist for reference. The lead trainer would then give an emergency scenario and the student would have to work through it. This always started with, "Sir, I will first maintain aircraft control, analyze the situation, and then land as soon as conditions permit." After reciting the memorized line, the student would then ask questions and react to the responses from the trainer until the emergency was resolved. If you got anything wrong, your name puck was removed from the board and thrown into a trash bin. Punishment also included losing the privilege of flying for one day. Too many repeat offenses and you would find your flying career over. Believe me when I say that the mood in the room each morning was of severe peril. Now that I have set the stage of how tense these stand-ups were, imagine that a class is standing at attention on day one, and then the training formation enters and Shed rips ass and stinks up the whole room with his extreme flatulence. The instructors kneeled over laughing. Our class nearly died of laughter. The stage was set that we would be no ordinary batch of jokers, our class flight room mascot. We all composed ourselves and got down to business, but we quickly became known as the officers that could let loose as hard as we could buckle down. Shed and I studied our asses off for stand-ups. We would practice in the shared residence at night and formed a study group with other pilots. In the 300 plus days that we participated in stand-ups, we only got called a handful of times and only missed one or two on a rare occasion. It was a breath of release in the moment after somebody else's name was called in a morning stand-up, though you felt for the few minutes of pain they were about to go through. The most challenging situations were usually based around judgment calls and deciding when it was safe to transition from one phase to another, especially when determining when it was safe to land as soon as conditions permit. Amazingly, our class made it through the entire year of training without losing a single student pilot to these procedural washouts. I can't say the same for some of the other flights, and it was quite common to hear in the hallways that somebody was washing out because of general knowledge. I'd like to say it was our studying and our outstanding knowledge of aviation systems that helped us never lose a student, but in retrospect, a lot of it just came down to a relationship that we had with our flight trainers. From day one, when Shed clouded the air with his fart bomb, to the observance of the way we stuck together as a class in everything that we did, it was clear that we had the camaraderie and determination to make it through the year as a team. The stand-ups are an extremely effective method for teaching us how to deal with emergencies in the aircraft. There were many instances when I had a real-life emergency and ran through the procedural checklist in my head. I still do to this day, as a matter of fact. That doesn't change the fact that these potentially career-ending quizzes terrified me every single morning for an entire year. While there was never any physical harm, the sound of your name puck ringing around in a trash barrel was enough to break even the toughest of psyche, and it's for that reason that we add a pin of peril to my map.